My wife Andy and I had discussed the possibility thoroughly. I wanted to be her meek, ever-obedient maid, serving her happily. My greatest desires were to assume a feminine role and surrender all control of my life to her. I would do the house cleaning and make the meals. She would continue with her executive job that she thrived on. Andy had just landed a multi-million-dollar contract, which won her a promotion and a series of bonuses that would be spread over the 10-year life of the contract she had gotten signed. The position I held in middle management, while lower middle, if I'm being honest, earned only a small fraction of what she was making. And with her new responsibilities, having me maintain our home would be a plus for her. So, we decided that we would try to make my dream come true. She determined that a year would be a good time frame to work with, keeping open the option to stop at any time if either of us wanted that. I arranged for an extended leave of absence from my job. It was so exciting when we went shopping for home domestic uniforms, which I would wear. They were quite plain, as opposed to the fancy French maid type you might think of first. There was even a separate stop to buy me bras and panties, none of which were at all flashy. After that, we had a talk about the next step. I wanted all of my body hair removed, and she was concerned that I be definite about it, because the results of my treatments would be permanent. I assured her that I was certain, and she made the appointment. I took pride in a task well done. Then I went to her to ask if she needed anything else. She said, "I'd like to see you wearing some makeup when you're working in my home." She didn't use my male name, which is John. After half a second, she addressed me by my new female identity, Jenneth. "Go and put on a pretty face." Oh, my. I scurried off to the bathroom and applied a light foundation. Then I used a minimum of eyebrow pencil, blush and pale pink lipstick. With any sign of a beard gone, my face was softer to begin with, and the addition of cosmetics hid the traces of my masculinity even deeper. My hair was still short, but there was enough that I could backbrush it and apply some spray to maintain a look of fullness. The transformation startled and pleased me. I had played with makeup in the past, but in combination with the absence of beard, new hairstyle, and uniform, complete with padding sewn into my bra cups, the effect was amazing. My nerves were all aflutter as I returned to Andy to see her reaction. She checked me casually, less like a wife and more like an employer. What can I say? That attitude sent hot chills up and down my spine. "Yes," she said with a bit of detachment. "I'll expect you to maintain that appearance, Jenneth." "Of course, ma'am." It was strange and yet wonderful to hear us address each other those ways. "If you don't need me for anything else, I still have the dinner dishes to wash. I'll have another glass of iced tea first. With lemon, this time." "Certainly." I hurried off, reminding myself that she preferred a lemon slice on the rim of the glass, not in the drink. And I had to remove any seeds. When I returned, she ignored me while watching something on the news. At last, she held out her hand for the beverage, which I bent over to give her. Then I left silently and headed straight to the kitchen. Donning yellow rubber gloves, I got busy hand-washing the dishes. Not having to think about anything beyond my basic household duties was so soothing. My world, at that moment, revolved around Andy and what needed to be done for her. I was in domestic service heaven. In the weeks that followed, we moved slowly but steadily forward. I plucked my eyebrows. She acted like the aloof boss, but later sat me down for deeply personal chats. Andy was concerned that everything was going well for me. I was so happy that she kept doing all this. There were frequently special desserts for her at dinner time. And in bed, I'll just mention, I was like her female love partner. And yes, she was definitely the decision maker when the lights were dimmed. You can fill in the details with your imagination. 3 months into our very successful experiment, it was time to take another step. She had spoken to a good friend, Gloria, and no one else, about our adjusted relationship. Between the two of them, they decided it was time for this neighbor to visit. For the occasion, we went out to get me a proper maid's outfit. It was a short black dress, dark stockings, a lace cap, and a frilly apron. My shoes were black, with square toes and 2-inch, block heels. I was still practicing with stilettos and wasn't ready to wear them while working. There was also frillier lingerie. I was in a tizzy for several days before my unveiling. I wanted to be seen, to show how convincing I was, and to demonstrate my skills as a server. At the same time, I was highly sensitive to having anyone besides my wife see me in my female role. If you have similar conflicts, you'll understand. Anyway, the big Saturday afternoon arrived. I had made hot tea and even baked cookies, which I was relieved had turned out well. While I was arranging cookies and some fresh strawberries on a plate, Gloria arrived. I heard my wife talking to her. They laughed and I had to wonder if that had anything to do with me. After a few more minutes, my wife called, "Jenneth, we're ready for tea." "Yes, ma'am," I responded from the kitchen, barely able to amplify my nervous voice while keeping it properly modulated. I put the teapot on a tray, along with cream and sugar, 2 cups with saucers, and cloth napkins. At the last second, I remember spoons. Duh. Telling myself that everything was going to turn out fine, I elevated my chin and started for the living room. The women were seated, Andy on the sofa and Gloria in a wingback chair. She was about my wife's age, a bit plump, and appeared friendly. I've read those stories online, the ones in which women mock a guy for being cross-dressed, but that was the opposite of what I wanted. I set the tray on the low coffee table, bending gracefully at the waist, and offered to pour. Both of them accepted. I filled their cups, and then held out the tray so they could use the cream and sugar. After that was all done, with no problems, I'm happy to report, Andy asked for the cookies. I had to consciously prevent myself from rushing. I was so full of excited energy. In the kitchen, I took a few calming breaths and then returned to give each of them a small plate with a paper napkin on it. Then I offered them the cookies and strawberries, Gloria first, and did a deep dip as I presented the big plate. They took what they wanted and Andy said, "Very good, Jenneth. Please wait by the dining room door with the cookie tray." Not leaving the plate might be different than it would ordinarily be done, but I figured my wife wanted to show how meekly obedient I was. Maybe she guessed that it gave me an extra tingle to have to be motionlessly subservient. As I stood there, eyes averted from the women, it was like invisible hands were teasing my nerve endings. Though I wasn't looking at them, I couldn't miss what they were saying. "Your help is quite professional," Gloria complimented. "I'm thinking of keeping her on," Andy stated. "She's so unobtrusive. I prefer that in domestic help." "Yes. And it's convenient that I let her live here. She's available at all hours, if I need anything done." Was she referring to our sex life? Had she told Gloria about that? Their conversation drifted to other topics. I was glowing inwardly about the compliments I had been paid. It was also exciting to be treated as mere hired help. After a while I was instructed to bring the cookie plate around once more, and then allowed to put it in the kitchen, with a cover on top. I busied myself, straightening a few things out there, like a good housekeeper, until I was called again. This time I was told to wrap up a half-dozen cookies for Gloria to take with her, which I did happily. Soon my wife's guest was gone. I waited to receive a final evaluation on my performance. "Very good, Jenneth," was all Andy said, maintaining her employer-slash-employee relationship. She went into the living room and turned on the TV. I heard a tinkling sound and assumed it was meant to summon me. When I got there, she had a small silver bell on the table, alongside her spot on the sofa. Andy didn't bother to explain this new addition to my chosen lifestyle, as if it was taken for granted that I would understand and accept. Andy said, "Take my shoes off, Jenneth. I'd like a foot rub." "Yes, ma'am." I got down on one knee and undid the tiny buckle on one shoe and then the other. I gently removed them as she looked past me, at the television. Then I took each of her stocking feet in turn to hold it between my hands and lightly massage. She ignored my presence until her show was over. I was in submissive paradise. Andy said I could go to my room and put on one of my nighties for a nap. I picked a frothy see-through one that suited my extra girly mood of the moment. Then I heard the bell again, except that when I went, she was no longer in the living room. I was gazing at the bell when I heard another ring, longer this time. Following it to the main bedroom, I found her in bed, with the covers pushed down, wearing a short nightshirt. Nap time, indeed. By reflex, I drew the bedspread and blanket further down, away from her feet. She rewarded me with a smile and patted a spot alongside her. I got onto the bed, noticing a duplicate of the other bell on her nightstand. That was a lovely visit, Jenneth. Thanks for doing such a good job. I hope you enjoyed your part in it. It was wonderful. Thank you for arranging everything and not rushing me into this new development. Do you think Gloria will come to visit again? I'm sure she will. Now snuggle up alongside me. You're going to be performing your other duties in a short while, the non-traditional ones. I pressed myself against her, flushed and filled with happy anticipation. Of course, ma'am. Whatever you wish. And I absolutely meant it.